Welcome, everybody, to Stranger Species, episode 14. I am one of your two hosts, Mike Davis, along here with Ethne Davis. How you doing tonight?
Good. Because I say that every time, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
Whatever you want to say.
But, yeah, take two.
Take two.
I said, how was your week?
Yes, we did this whole intro a few minutes ago, and then I decided that I wanted new batteries in our little recording device because I was afraid
it would die
mid-episode. Yeah. And I do not have the technological skills to fix that, so we stopped.
I mean, I bet you could find them, but we don't want to
find them.
Exactly.
Because life's so busy right now.
So busy. We talked about how wild our week was, and first day of school was just absolutely insane.
Yes, our kids started school this week.
On Tuesday.
It was a great week. It was good, but the first day was absolutely nuts.
It really was.
Yeah.
But we've packed like the amount of work that we've done in 1 week, like into 3 weeks. I mean, maybe more. It's been so busy.
Yeah. Or we did it the other way around. We did 3 weeks of work in 1 week.
Is that what I was saying?
I think you said the other way.
Oh, did I?
I'm pretty good at stretching it out over multiple weeks.
Okay, well, you guys probably knew what I meant.
Probably.
Okay.
But, yeah. Should we tell them about the first day of school?
Right now?
Yeah.
No, I absolutely do not want to tell them about the first day of school.
Well, now you have to.
No, I don't.
Because I brought it up.
No. Michael, we're not.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. Alrighty? For anybody who knows me or doesn't know me, I like to write. So I will write out the story of our first day of school.
No.
And I will post it to our Facebook group. And if you want to know about our first day of school, which was...
I mean, it was like a movie.
Yeah.
Like a scene, my brother-in-law said, this is like a National Lampoon's movie.
It was.
It was terrible.
There might have been some streaking involved. Involuntary streaking.
And raccoons.
And raccoons.
And dead chickens. And, I mean, it was just...
Bees' nests. All sorts of
not
things.
bumblebees. Let's clarify. A wasp or hornet or something, but not bumblebees.
Not the cute ones.
No.
So anyways, I'll write that up. I'll post it to our Facebook group. And if you want to see, if you want to hear the story or read the story rather, since Ethne won't tell it now, either go to our page, Stranger Species Facebook page, or if you want to email me, email us at strangerspecies@gmail.com and I will send it to you.
My husband likes to mortify me. Publicly. Like,
and privately, but no one cares about privately, I guess.
Yeah, publicly. Like in his book that he wrote about some of it was like I don't know, what would you call that book? It's not a memoir, but like...
It's kind of like a memoir.
Anyway, about life lessons on family vacations. And he just...
We took our kids to
Embarrasses
Disneyland
me.
3 different times. We've taken them many times. I like Disneyland a lot. If you haven't gotten that yet, that we always make Disney references. But the first 3 times we took our kids to Disneyland, and we don't live next to Disneyland.
Like no, we live far.
Trips. You have to fly and plan and spend lots of money. All 3 times, our children got violently ill at the parks. And sometimes, most of the time, Ethne also got violently ill at the parks.
You did sometimes.
Once briefly, correct. So anyways, that's what the book is all about. It's really funny. Anyways, I'll put a link to it on
It's
the
not
Facebook
all about
page
that.
as well.
It's about all the awesome lessons you still learn amongst. I'm looking at these sheets and they have raccoons on them.
Whoa.
We have been haunted by a raccoon, you guys, for the whole week. And this is not cool. Okay.
You picked the sheets. So.
Okay, we have to get going.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway.
Alrighty. So real quick, again, I know we say this every week. We have lots and lots of new listeners. I appreciate all the new listeners. If you're not a new listener, just bear with me for 1 quick second so we can explain how this all works. I labor diligently to come up with cool stories. I write out a script. We come and talk about it. Ethne, do you know what we're going to talk about tonight?
Not ever.
Not ever.
No, I never know.
Yeah, that's right.
And I get a little bit nervous every time.
As you should, which we say every time.
Because it's the truth.
Yeah. So actually tonight's story is one that I am very excited about. This is a story that many listeners probably have heard about before if they listen to other podcasts or, follow YouTubers, whatever, that talk about kind of weird, esoteric, on the fringe kind of things. I've heard the story many, many times. When I first came up with the idea of the podcast, this is one of the stories right away where I was like, oh, this is the kind of thing that I want to talk about. So I'm excited to finally get to do it.
All right.
So we're going to talk about the Dyatlov Pass Incident. Have you ever heard of it?
Dyatlov?
Dyatlov.
No.
It's a Russian name.
Dyatlov. No.
Yeah, no. Good.
I've heard of Pavlov's.
Dogs?
Dogs.
Yeah. Different. Very different.
But it just ended with the love, like.
That's true.
Dyatlov.
That's true.
Or whatever.
Very, not at all related.
I'm just giving you an insight as to how my brain worked. It's right there.
Good. Thanks for that insight.
Yep.
Now we're all better now. I had a mean thing, but I didn't say it. So it made me think of one particular Billy Madison line. But I refrained. So this is back in 1959.
Okay.
In Russia. There were 9 students, college students, who were all extremely experienced hikers, backpackers, outdoorsmen. And they set off for a 3-week-long backpacking trip over their winter break in the Ural Mountains, to some random mountain that I don't know its name, almost in the Arctic Circle.
This sounds terrible.
I hate, as you know, Ethne, winter anything. That's not true. I like winter. Winter camping, winter backpacking, winter...
Spelunking.
I've never spelunked in the winter. Probably actually be okay.
Actually,
but
ice climbing is kind of fun.
Never done it.
But it's also very just a day trip. It's not like you're sleeping in the cold. Like that, I think, is what you really hate.
I do.
Like the overnight adventures in cold.
Ugh. Anyways, these guys didn't hate that, apparently.
They obviously loved it.
They loved it a lot, which I can't fathom. So they're all college students, like I said. And so it was supposed to take them about 3 weeks. So they leave in February to go on this trip.
In Russia, towards the Arctic Circle.
Correct.
Just sounds like a suicide mission, really.
Even just to get to where they were going, they had to, bless you, take a train as far as civilization, and then from there, take like a mining truck as far as it would go. And then when no more people were crazy enough to live there, then they were like, okay, now we'll start hiking.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
So the leader of the group, his name was Igor Dyatlov.
Igor. I had a friend named Igor growing up.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. He was 23.
It's not a common name.
Yeah. Not for me.
Okay.
Sure it was in some places, like Russia. But so they take off. They were supposed to be gone, like I said, about 3 weeks. On February 12th, he was supposed to send a message letting everybody know, hey, we're done with our trip. We're back.
When did they leave again?
Must have been, I said February. Must have been in January.
Okay.
So February 12th, they're supposed to report back. Hey, we're back in civilization. We'll be back to school here, whatever. But after a day or two, no one heard from them. And they, which isn't unheard of. Sometimes these big, long take, a day or two longer. But by the 19th, people were starting to get worried. The whole week later. So they put together a search party and they went and looked for them. And the party found the group's tent on the slope of a mountain. Guess what this mountain's name was? Total side note here.
Indefatigable.
No. But that's a good guess.
I've climbed to the top of that mountain. That's why I said that.
There you go. No, Death Mountain.
Oh, very fitting.
Very fitting. Well, we don't know they're dead.
Well, okay. You're right. We don't. Okay.
So, so they find the tent, but they find nobody there. And so this is where things start to get a little strange.
They had one tent for all 9 of them?
Yeah.
That's a big tent. Who got to be the lucky person to carry that tent?
I don't know.
Sorry, I had to think about that.
Maybe there's multiple tents. Maybe they found a tent.
That goes, okay. That's
I
fine.
don't know.
That's fine.
I really don't.
That's fine.
But thank you for declaring it fine. Because I don't have anything else I can do at this point.
Okay.
So here's where things start getting weird. The tent was cut, but from the inside.
How do they know that?
A seamstress. So when the search party first found it, they actually thought like, oh, someone must have did they get attacked from the outside and someone cut through or something like that? But once the tent was back, the seamstress actually pointed out to the officials, like, no, this is cut from the inside. So something happened to startle them that they had to get out of the tent so fast that they cut their way out.
Interesting.
It is interesting. But there was no real sign of a struggle. All of their food and gear was still nicely, neatly organized and packed in the tent. There was still a meal prepared and sitting in the tent untouched.
Weirder and weirder.
Curiouser and curiouser.
Yes.
But most weird of all, there weren't any bodies. So we've got a tent that's ripped from the or cut from the inside. Now it is collapsed. You can go look up pictures of it. It is, partly collapsed. There's skis sticking up and stuff. But they can still tell, okay, there's plates of food. This food hasn't been touched, but it's been prepared. So something's happened that's startled them. So in the morning, searchers find 9 pairs of tracks, footprints, leading from the tent back down the slope towards a forest at the bottom of the mountain. But the weird thing about the footprints, some of them have boots on. Some of them, they can tell, are only in socks. Some are completely barefoot. But the prints are shallow and neat, meaning that whoever made them, or when they were made, the people weren't running. They were walking fairly organized and deliberately. So let's retrace our steps here. Something startles them enough that they abandon their gear. They leave fast enough that they're cutting themselves out of the tent and running out into minus 30-degree weather with no shoes.
Right. Some have shoes, some don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like just as they are.
Just as you are.
Like
right.
if you already had shoes
boom,
on.
right now something happened. We got to go.
Right. Okay. And they're walking.
They're
like
back down.
Being like lured, like Sarah Jessica Parker in Hocus Pocus. Something's
Maybe.
luring them out.
The pretty witch singing to them.
Yep. And they just are like tranced.
Could be.
So
that's what's so weird about it.
Right?
So that's what they find. They follow the trail or the prints down. Now, again, there's only 9 sets of tracks. There isn't a 10th, the 11th, 12th that would show someone else was there with them.
Exactly, because she's flying on a broom.
Or a vacuum.
Or
she doesn't fly the vacuum. But
it is that season, so it was on my mind. But if you haven't seen Hocus Pocus,
it's super hot here right now. It does not feel like that season.
Well, it's coming up.
It is coming though.
But if you haven't seen that movie, you absolutely have to see that movie.
So the searchers were super baffled. The movie she's talking about is Hocus Pocus, by the way. They can't figure out what in the world has happened and where did everybody go?
To the forest.
So they follow down. They get to the forest, and they find the first 2 bodies.
Uh-oh.
Right at the edge of the forest.
Dang.
Those bodies belong to Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonishenko. The Yuris.
The Uris.
The Yuris. So, both men were found next to the remains of a small fire. Well, obviously the fire was out, but they could tell there was a fire there. So, again, they'd left in such a hurry, but these two had time to build a fire down in the forest.
Okay.
But it gets strange, even. Both men were found in nothing but their underwear. Now, I do know with hypothermia, there is a thing where
you kind of go cuckoo.
Yeah.
And you think you want to take off your clothes.
Yeah, you get like extremely hot feeling actually, and you strip down, and then.
But it's probably almost because you're burnt, like you're burning. You're so cold.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
like
all a mental
ice?
thing or if you're physically actually getting hot, or if it's just all in your head. But it is a thing people will do when they're dying of hypothermia. Both of their hands and feet were severely burned, like 3rd-degree burns.
Weird.
Now maybe they were trying to warm them up in the fire.
Yeah.
In their underwear.
It's quite this thought.
Yeah. But here's an interesting part here. So Krivoshenko had bitten off a piece of his own hand, and it was in his mouth still.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
A big chunk of hand flesh.
Okay.
And Doroshenko, that's the other Yuri.
Yep.
He had a gray foam/liquid coming out of his mouth. So there's definitely some weird things going on.
Maybe they were possessed.
By what?
Evil spirits.
Of the Siberian forest?
No. I mean, I could answer with a thought, but I mean...
It's not Halloween yet.
No.
Maybe they were possessed. We'll see. I don't know. But it's weird, eh?
Right.
So both these bodies were found under the base of a large tree. So up in the tree, about 5 meters up, or 15 feet, 16 feet, the branches were broken, and there were pieces of both clothing and flesh on the bark.
Okay.
That's weird.
Yep.
So let's try to piece this together. We got 2 bodies, no clothes. One of them's bitten a chunk out of their own hand. They both have severe burns. The other one's got foamy liquid stuff. And then we've got a tree with, pretty good ways up, broken branches and chunks of human.
Did the science prove that it's human flesh? Or is it like an animal flesh up there?
I highly doubt they did any kind of testing on it, but there were scraps of their clothing up there too, so I think it was a fair assumption.
Okay, gotcha.
That it was part of them. So were they... It just makes me think so. Were they trying to get wood for the fire? Like, were they trying to get out to their dryer wood to make a fire? Were they hiding from something? Was something attacking them? So they're trying to get up. Had they already been attacked? And they're trying to get away, and that's why there's, pieces of them. Or is something else entirely different going on?
Yeah. It's kind of sounding weird.
It is weird, eh? Mm-hmm. So those are the first 2 bodies. Searchers keep going. They find 3 more. On the slope leading back up to the tent.
But obviously not on the same path that the shoes came down.
Correct.
Like in a different...
They didn't see him on the way down.
Right.
So they find 3 more bodies. This is Igor Dyatlov, Zenaida Kolmogorova, so a female. There's 2 females in the party. And Rustem Slobodin.
You're doing a great job reading these names.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're hard to
By
say.
great, I'm sure they're not great, but bear with us. So let's continue with the strangeness. Kolmogorova, that's the female, Zenaida, had a large bruise that ran up the entire side of her body, as if she'd been hit by something massive.
Or fell out of a tree.
Or fell out of a tree, maybe. But it was, the way it's described as a long cylindrical
weird
bruise. Kind of down her whole side of her body. Slobodin had small fractures in his skull, indicating like a fall. But there were no external cuts and no bloodied rocks or snow or anywhere where it looked like somebody had fallen.
I'm still going with being possessed.
Okay.
Yep, that's what I'm going with.
So you're giving up on your witch idea.
That was just initially for kicks and giggles, really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So now you're going with possession.
Mm-hmm.
Seems logical.
Mm-hmm.
So, so those two both seem like they'd undergone some kind of physical attack.
What about the third one?
Well, I don't have anything other than I think it seems like he died of hypothermia.
Like just normal.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Igor. But it seemed like these two died by some kind of, like I said, physical attack, where the two by the fire seemed to die. Well, they did have weird symptoms and stuff. You know, they were just sitting by the fire, where these ones had all
Right.
tried to get
those ones
away.
had trauma, like legit trauma.
Which two?
The ones on the hill.
Right.
So
again, it makes me think, you know, were they trying to escape something? It's obvious that the three that died on the hill, based on their positions, it seemed like they were trying to get back to the tent.
Right.
And then just never made it.
I never made it. Okay.
So were they going back for gear? But again, why did they leave all the gear in the first place?
Yeah.
You know, did something happen that confused them? And then they were like, oh crap, we got to get back up there and we're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
It's Siberia in the Arctic Circle in February.
Yeah.
We should put pants on.
Yeah. I mean, yes to all those things. Like 3 pairs of pants on.
Yeah. Oh, I hate winter camping.
Okay.
That's a bad experiences. But they couldn't find the other 4 bodies.
Ever.
Nope. Just not right then.
Oh, right then. Okay.
And so that's when they deemed all 5 of them died of hypothermia.
Okay.
Which is probably true. Maybe. I don't know.
Who knows?
And then in the spring, there is a group of native tribesmen that live in that area called the Mansi.
Okay.
They're native reindeer herders.
I love it. It's like Sven.
Like Sven.
Wait, no, it's Kristoff. Sven is the reindeer.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Like Kristoff. But, sorry, I started thinking, but then you said Kristoff, I thought of Christoph Waltz, and then I thought of Inglourious Bastards, and then I lost my train of thought.
Sorry. So in the spring, there is...
Yes, a Mansi
Yes.
hunter comes across a collapsed makeshift
lean-to
snow cave-ish thing,
Okay.
and comes upon the other 4 bodies. So searchers go back out there. They find them. And what do you think happened to them?
They died of hypothermia because they were cold.
Totally true. Just kidding. They're even more weird.
This is...
So they were found about 300 feet from the cedar tree where the first 2 bodies were found by a small stream.
That would have actually been a stream in the winter or would have been frozen?
Well, interesting you say that or ask that question. The ground would have been frozen, but this particular stream never freezes. It channels under the snow. So from the top, yes, you would just look like any other snowy wasteland, which it was. But if you dug down enough, you would come to the stream.
Gotcha.
And at this time, it was streamy.
Okay.
So this hunter comes across this makeshift den in this ravine. The floor was made up of branches and random torn up pieces of clothing. And then you had the 4 bodies kind of huddled together. Not huddled like they were huddled for warmth, but just kind of all approximately in there together. I have the names. Is it worth reading the names? I don't know. Ludmila Dubanina, Alexander Zolotaryov, Nikolai Sebedu Bernoles. That sounds more French, only I didn't say it like French. It's more Spanishy, but you get it. And then Alexander Kolevatov.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So the injuries on these guys' bodies completely changed everything with the case. Like, yeah, it was weird on the first 5, but they died of hypothermia, whatever. These 4 show up and it's like, no. Foul play. Something's weird. Something's got to be going on. So the coroner stated, so at first I thought it was, again, like they had to bring in a detective team because they're like, this isn't natural. Like something bad. There's definitely foul play. But the coroner stated that the injuries were so severe, there's no way a human caused them. So it was like this weird place to...
Yeti.
It's one of the theories. We'll get there.
Yeah, it's a Yeti.
Abominable snowman.
And the snowball, he whipped a giant, huge snowball at the side of the lady that had the bruise.
Ice ball.
Yep. Ice ball. I knew it.
Dang Yetis. They're the worst. Smelly, throwing giant ice snowballs at you.
I mean, they're kind of cute if you watch all the movies.
Well, not the movies I watch about them.
Oh, well, the movies I watch about them, they're cute.
So, let's talk about what the Yeti did. If we're going to blame it on a Yeti.
Sure. Okay, let's talk about it.
Or a possession, or a witch. Whatever you want to go with, babe. So, 2 of the bodies had severe chest fractures.
Ooh.
And 1 had a major skull fracture. And the skull fracture was the one that the coroner said that
like
there's
another
no
human
cannot,
do that.
Yeah, produce enough force to cause this fracture.
But polar bears live by water, so they wouldn't be here.
No polar bears here.
What other big things would be there?
Maybe we go back a week to grizzly bears.
Would grizzly bears live somewhere that cold? I don't. Okay.
Only Yetis.
Okay.
So it was stated that the injuries were of a caliber of being in a severe car crash.
Weird.
But there wasn't any soft tissue or external damage.
Whoa. See, possession.
Maybe it was a Yeti possession.
Yes. No.
Like there was a witch Yeti that possessed them.
Stop it. I'm just going with as the evidence is revealed to me, I'm going with what's happening in my brain.
What's wrong with the witch Yeti?
I mean, it's too far out there. It's one or the other.
I think you're prejudiced. I feel a sneeze coming on.
You're allergic to me?
Allergic to your theories. So the clothing they were wearing was also strange. So Ludmila, the other female in the party, had a pair of pants from one of the Yuris who were found under the tree tied around one of her legs.
Did she have like a tourniquet? Like
No.
was one of her legs?
It was like, I think she thought like, oh, my shin's cold. I'm going to put someone's pants around it.
Obviously, they're not mentally sound. Like they'd lost their marbles?
Possibly.
Okay.
One of the Alexanders was found wearing Ludmila's hat and coat. But Ludmila had on the pants of one of the Yuris.
But not even on.
Just tied around her leg, foot.
Okay, this is bizarre.
It is bizarre. This is where it gets a little more bizarre as we go deeper. But it kind of gets a little gross, too. Okay?
Okay, our kids like to listen to this.
I know. Lincoln's going to love this.
Okay.
Okay. Ludmila was missing her entire tongue and both of her eyes and part of her lips. If you can see Anthony's face right now, it's pure gold.
I don't even know what to say. Like, what?
Yeah.
This is so gross.
So gross. One of the Alexanders was also missing his eyes, but he has tongue. So that's a plus.
Okay.
The other Alexander, with his eyeballs, had a deep cut behind his ear, and his neck was bent in a very unnatural position to the side, and he had no eyebrows.
No eyebrows.
No eyebrows. Kept his eyes, but no eyebrows. Now, here's a fascinating question. Would you rather keep your eyeballs, but you have to lose your eyebrows?
For sure.
Okay, well, that Alexander wins.
That Alexander for surely wins.
If you ever have seen, which you have not, the Haunting of Hill House.
No, I have not. Nor will I ever.
The main character is the bent neck lady. That's what I think of when I think of this guy's bent neck.
I mean, isn't it in like the Headless Horseman? No. Nearly Headless Nick. Oh, that's Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Okay, never mind. I was lots of things going on in my brain. It makes me think of Nearly Headless Nick, but he's really nice and not scary.
No, he seems pretty nice.
This sounds disgustingly morbid.
Yeah, so this kind of confused
everybody. Yeah.
My first thought was scavengers as far as missing, organs, external organs. Like, wolves or something like that.
Yeah, but that just...
It was almost too clean.
Well, and the other thing is...
Like, why would your whole face be missing?
By the time a wolf would find you, in theory, you would be frozen. No?
Yeah. I mean, I would assume even in the springtime up there, it's still frozen-ish. Like...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Well, it definitely is. I mean, the pictures, you can find pictures, really gross pictures of all the bodies and stuff. And they're definitely in giant mounds of snow still. I mean, it's not like springtime green grass.
Right. Gross.
Yeah.
But only one had the severe head trauma.
Correct.
Huh.
Here's the weirdest of all of it.
Oh, great.
2 of the bodies had extremely high levels of radiation.
What? But maybe they lived close to Chernobyl or something. So, like, maybe that's not weird. Maybe they were exposed to it, like, was used.
This is true. This is Cold War, Soviet Union. There's nuclear stuff going on.
Right. So maybe that has nothing to do with it because it was, like we wear those where you kind of the rad badges. Mm-hmm. And so maybe those particular individuals just lived close to something. So that's not so weird. I feel like.
Okay. So where the first 5 were not diagnosed, the cause of death was given as hypothermia. These 4 were given the following cause of death: a spontaneous power of nature.
I mean, so as to not alarm people, like, oh, it could be possibly a Yeti, or, oh, we have absolutely no idea what killed them, but this is the state they were in. I mean, the spontaneous power of nature sounds like, I don't know, like you could be like lightning or something, and so then people don't freak out.
Does it make it sound like they're trying to cover something up?
Maybe a little.
What if I told you right after they did that, they classified all the documents and made it illegal to look into it at all?
Oh, then yes, for sure.
All right. Well, after they did that, after they named it a spontaneous power of nature, then they classified all the documents.
Oh.
And they shut the case and said...
I think they were freaked out.
Yeah. As they should be.
Yeah.
Yetis are crazy, man.
Well, I mean, they're not really real. So...
I've never dealt with the Yeti, but being from the Pacific Northwest, we got our Bigfoot,
Yeah, we sure do. The real ones.
Yeah. Big, smelly, hominid creatures.
Yeah. Yep.
Stalking the forest.
Yep. In your car, even on your car smelly thing. You're kind of into them.
I like Bigfoot, but not Yetis.
No, because they're in cold places.
They're in cold places, and they'll rip your eyes out.
And your tongue.
I have a feeling Bigfoot's a very jovial fellow.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's nice.
He is very jovial.
Yetis.
What about, is there a she?
Probably. Generally speaking, mammals have that working for them.
Yeah.
So, what happened?
I mean, I already told you.
Okay, so your running hypothesis, tell me again. It's a witch Yeti that possessed the hikers?
No. Okay,
No.
So as you released evidence, or the story, I think that there is some sort of possession involved after all of it.
Like a demonic possession?
Yeah.
And let's run with this theory for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So who was possessed?
I think maybe all of them.
So it's like 9 demonic possessions, and they got into like a WWE demonic possession brawl.
Or I think just if your body is possessed, you do weird things that you would never normally do. And they make, I don't know. I mean, and your body's trying to maybe fight it. And it's like all these, everyone responded to those differently. But I mean, think of the swine in the Bible.
That's true.
You know, like they did weird stuff and then ran themselves off cliffs. So, I mean, I don't know. That's the only thing, because like to experience these weird, almost from the inside, like the guy's skull didn't have any, on the guy on the cliff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or on the hill had like no external signs of like the head trauma, but then it was there. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. Like
Right.
But I just feel like it just seems too strange for
It's very strange.
any other explanation than that.
We're going to go through a whole slew here of hypotheses that have been proposed. So the first was, and I believe the official cause is an avalanche.
No. Absolutely not.
Yeah, there's lots of big problems with the avalanche theory.
Yeah. None of that makes any sense.
So I agree. What are your red flags?
For an avalanche?
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just, I just wondering.
Well, they would be covered in snow. Like, they would be...
Right. Most of people who die in an avalanche die under like 20 feet of snow.
Yeah. And their tent wouldn't be just sitting there. They would more than likely have been found if at some point it melted enough, or, they had those, back then, I don't know, but like the little...
Right. They're like
sensors that you can find people. If they dug them out, they, in theory, would all be in their tent.
Right.
Now, I mean, I guess the tent and them being scattered could be unrelated to the night. I mean, I don't know why, but I just pictured it happening at night.
It was at night.
But how do they know that? Like, how do they know that their tent was cut open and they went down to the woods at night? How do they know that?
So the whole expedition is extremely well documented. Each one of them had journals. Each one of them had cameras, and they found 8 of the cameras. And journals, and so they have a pretty good timeline of.
Well, then, yeah.
When and what things were happening.
So
they actually know from the time they set up base camp, it was 9 hours later that
this all happened.
Yeah.
So do their journals have any insight?
No.
None. Okay, darn.
There's no like being stalked by hairy creature.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been helpful. Or like
did Ouija session.
Right. We are feeling like, we're being followed, or I don't know what.
No alcohol on the thing, like on the trip.
No, avalanche is not. No. Okay. What's your next theory?
Well, just other reasons why it can't be an avalanche. None of them died of asphyxiation.
Yeah, like you would.
Like they were all breathing when they died.
Exactly. I mean, that's basically, unless your body is broken when you're going down the avalanche, what you die from is suffocation afterward.
Right. Like I said, the campsite wasn't leveled. There was no debris field.
There was no debris
field of an avalanche.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, and I could be wrong, I've never been in an avalanche, but is my general feeling that avalanches do not cut out eyes and tongues.
Right. It's a good notion. I do actually have a friend. One of my good friend's sisters is an avalanche survivor.
Whoa. Does she still have her eyes and her tongue?
Mm-hmm. She does.
See, I told you.
And she lived to tell the tale.
But has she survived a Yeti attack?
Probably not, because they're not real.
I don't know why you can say you believe that it could be a possession, but not a Yeti.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think a Yeti is more likely. Okay, theory 2. KGB.
I mean, I don't know much about KGB. I did, read a book lately, but I mean, if the coroner is going to say like they experience things that don't seem to be like capable of the human, I just, no. Why would the KGB waste their time up there with those 9 hikers? I mean, it just seems like a waste of KGB time.
So Here's why some people think that.
Okay.
Alexander Zolotaryov. He was 37.
He's much older than, okay.
He was a
Former.
World War II vet, career military guy, and he was a last-minute addition by the university to go on the expedition with them. He worked in the physics department, in the nuclear department, and remember I said they found 8 cameras? His was the only camera in journals that were not ever found.
That is sus, as the kids would say. That's sus.
Very sus.
So
some people think maybe
there was something
there was
incriminating.
not CIA.
KGB.
A KGB operation that was unbeknownst to most of the hikers and went awry one way or another.
Okay. I mean, still, why
What would cause all those injuries?
Yes. Wouldn't you just shoot them?
I don't know.
Like, I mean,
in the KGB.
Well, just think about if you're on any military mission, you're not there to torture people and do things that are almost like inhuman to them. That's not the point.
Well, maybe sometimes that's the point.
No.
Maybe you're trying to set up some kind of, maybe you're trying to false flag the Yetis, man, and start a Yeti war.
No. No.
Anyways, that is another one. Okay. Bigfoot. Yeti. That is a popular, there actually is one picture from the thing that's claimed to be like a Bigfoot. And it looks like, sure, that could be a Bigfoot, or it could be any one of the other hikers in the distance.
Well, I mean, I guess I am no expert in the Siberian Arctic, I don't even know what it's called up there. So there could be some creature, like animal, that we are very rare, only find them up there. Like I'm picturing like a saber-toothed tiger, but you know what I'm saying? Like something bizarre, like in the depths of the ocean that you would never know is there, that is up there. I mean, I suppose there could be something like that, but I don't think it would be considered like an actual Yeti.
Well, I'm with you. I have a degree in biology. I like biology. I like ecology. I have no problem saying there could be an unknown mammal or hominid species that lives in super remote parts of the world.
Right. So I guess maybe my thought is maybe for those 4, they almost were like hiding out. Like something scared them away. They kind of got lost, disoriented from their tent, all 9 of them. I think maybe they started losing it a little bit. The other ones were going to hike back. The other 2 were like, we're just going to make a campfire here because I don't want to get lost even more. And the other ones maybe found themselves separated in the woods and they built the shelter. So maybe some of them did die, like just from hypothermia, but maybe the other people were found by said creature and were literally just.
It is the best theory for missing eyes and tongues.
Yeah, like some weird.
But I would say if there was some unknown creature, in this case, I would have a very hard time pinning it on said unknown creature.
How come?
I just can't imagine if there is an unknown something that it's some big, giant, ferocious thing that
we don't know about
hikers.
It.
Yeah.
Well, that's the hard part is they are in such a remote part. Maybe this creature has been discovered.
That's true.
I mean, maybe in 1959.
People know about it.
Exactly. Like, who the heck knows? I mean, if you started researching, maybe there is something out there that could very well do things that, no human could do as far as the kind of trauma that they got.
So, if it's not Bigfoot, what about aliens?
Well,
so let me tell you a little bit here.
I mean,
so there were both the local Mansi people and another hiking party about 50 kilometers away from them. Both stated that there were very strange orange floating balls of light in the sky that night. So there was so after they found the first 5 bodies, the lead investigator, his name was Lev Ivanov. And like I said, he was the main investigator until the KGB came in and took over and shut him out and told him, you can't talk about this anymore. And so he didn't for years until the early 90s when the Soviet Union fell. And after the collapse of the Soviet Union, a lot of these documents became unclassified, and he felt that he could talk about it. And so Lev said this in the early 90s. I suspected at the time, and I'm almost certain now, that these bright flying spheres had a direct connection to the group's death. End quote. In his initial report, he also had claimed that the treetops were burnt above a certain height along the forest. But he said that the KGB forced him to take anything out of his report that had to do with orbs or things in the sky. But he thinks that the group was killed by some kind of heat wave or fire from the sky. And so that's opened a lot of speculation too. Well, if you're into the alien thing, I'm not an alien guy. If you're into the alien thing, they are like, yeah, see aliens. But a lot of people do wonder, did they stumble upon some top secret Soviet nuclear or secret weapon project and
Like
saw
while they were
something
out
they
there?
weren't supposed to see, or maybe the Russians didn't even know they were there, and they...
It's still just the manner in which it's just bizarre. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if the human flesh up in the tree was related to any of those 9, or if that is like a separate entity altogether.
I mean, there's not a lot of people out there.
I know. The whole thing is like, I mean, I'm not really an alien person. So, but I do believe in like, I don't even know, like other creatures from other places, right? So it's like, I guess that's an alien.
So I'm with you. I think mathematically and even spiritually, there's got to be some other life in the universe.
Right.
It's too big and grand and expansive not to have something else.
Right.
Do I believe in green men?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Who float around? Right.
Well, and
There's
then
a difference
come and
there,
do
right.
weird things to people as
like
as
probing?
Sure. I mean, it just seems like, I don't know. It just seems too weird with all the various. It's like if they all had like a perfect circle in the top of their head or something, and you know what I mean? They all died in the same way. Maybe then I'd be a little more like, oh, maybe then
Right.
It wasn't
That makes sense.
extraterrestrial
I think
species.
the aliens are much cleaner with their...
I just feel like
human
it's too
dissections.
random. I don't know. It's too random. So, I mean, I guess in theory, if they stumbled upon something they shouldn't have, and I don't know enough about that part of the world, maybe, but the part that's weird to me is how did they do that to them if it's not really something that a human can do?
Yeah.
Like if it was the KGB. I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
I don't think I'm educated enough to...
So you're not going with that one either.
Well, I don't know. I
right.
kind of feel like...
I got one more hypothesis here, all right?
Okay, I'm ready.
It's called a Kármán vortex streak. So,
Like
what is
something
that,
in
you
outer
say?
space?
No.
No.
It's a wind pattern.
Okay.
So, to make your beautiful hike in the Siberian wilderness in February in the minus 30 degrees even more fun, you are frequented with hurricane-like winds. I mean, hurricanes sound terrible when you're on the beach in Miami. Sound way more terrible when you're on Death Mountain in Siberia
It sounds like
in a
death.
canvas tent.
I mean, it sounds like death, literally.
Well, it was for these guys. So a Kármán vortex streak is a wind phenomena that creates such a terrifying sound that it messes with your cognitive skills
Oh, interesting.
or your cognitive abilities. Like you really do kind of go like
Crazy. Oh,
and
wow.
delusional. So maybe it is like a banshee.
Literally. Yeah.
Something that scares
Like almost
you
like scaring
so
you.
much that you run out of your tent before you even can think, oh my goodness, that was a terrible idea. Now we got to get back to our tent.
And then
but we're dead.
Right.
And now my eyeballs are missing.
Right. Again, I guess the part that, to me, I think those 4 might have died from some creature, some weird something.
So the first 5 are hypothermia. Last 4 were more Yeti-like.
Like the first 5, I can, like hypothermic delirium. Like, you're kind of losing your marbles. Maybe like the lady bruised really easy and she tumbled down the mountain as she was running from this weird wind sound. Like, I mean,
what a pansy.
I mean, there could be some explanations for those injuries that happened, but the whole group in the lean-to is just, I think, separate. The way that they died or the things that happened to them. It just seems.
So this is like the mystery of all mysteries.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah.
It's a crazy story.
It really is.
So there were some scientists in 2019 from Sweden.
Oh, just a couple years ago.
That think they solved it.
Why are scientists from Sweden even like spending the time, getting the grant money? How are they doing? I mean, like really.
But you'll find this fascinating. The whole idea for what they think might have happened came to them while watching the infamous movie Frozen.
Oh. The second one?
Well, no, that's the first one.
The
Let
first
It Go.
One. Okay.
That one.
So I want to understand.
Yeah. So there is technology that was some computer programs that were made specifically for Frozen that what am I trying to say? That show they were made for rolling snow and the snowflakes.
Mm.
And in using that, they came with this theory, and they used the actual software from Disney to run these tests or something.
Interesting.
Yeah. But they believe it was called, or what is called, a delayed slab avalanche.
Okay.
So, to form an avalanche, you have to have at least a 20-degree angle on your hill.
Okay.
Now, all these guys were all super well versed in
climbing and
backpacking.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this was, I don't know if I said this earlier, this trip was their last final to become the highest level that Russia had of backpacking, hiking.
There's levels.
Yeah.
Mm.
So they would have known very well where not to put their tent, that was in a potential avalanche area.
Mm-hmm.
Where they did was at 23 degrees. So technically it was steep enough for an avalanche, but nowhere near steep.
Okay.
So they cut in.
Like a wedge?
Mm-hmm. Essentially like you build a wall or you cut in a vertical wall and you put your tent there. So remember last year we have like a little carport in our backyard. And we got so much snow last year. Like so much snow. And when it gets warm, what happens to that snow that's on the roof of that carport?
It melts?
Yeah, the bottom layer melts, right? And it does that to the point where then you get these giant sheets that slide off. Mm-hmm. Or, for example, if you've ever, this happens to me all the time with my truck because I park it outside in the winter. It's all cold. I think I got like 6 inches of snow on the roof and it's cold. Then I turn the truck on, it warms up the cab. And then 5 minutes later, I'm driving, I hit my brakes. And that whole big 6-inch slab comes right down the windshield, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what a delayed avalanche or delayed slab avalanche is. It's not that the whole mountainside comes down in this big torrent of snow, like a typical avalanche. It's just this thin slab of the top that comes careening down over the other snow. Mm. So maybe it's 2 or 3 meters high, but it's not the whole mountainside. So they think that when they dug in, that they kickstarted this super slow time clock of releasing this slab.
Interesting.
Sometime in the middle of the night, the slab came rushing down and smacked the tent, but kind of slid right over the tent as it goes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So anyone who is inside, well, all of them are inside. Depending on where you were inside, you would have received catastrophic injuries as you got smashed by this giant shelf of snowy ice. But then it just keeps sliding right on past you. So all of a sudden you're sitting there, boom, you get hit with this semi-truck worth of, you've really injured some people. They don't know what's going on. They cut themselves out. They leave. At some point, maybe they realize we've got to go back. They die, whatever. So that's the theory. They were asked afterwards, well, what about all of the other weird stuff? And they said, that's beyond our purview. Like, we can't explain any of that stuff. But they think it was initially this, what did I call it? Delayed slab avalanche that hit the tent because it wouldn't leave a debris field like a normal avalanche.
I think there still would be evidence.
Yeah.
I mean, not only that, they would have to have sustained those injuries enough to then make themselves a shelter, to be found in a shelter.
So
it just makes no sense.
Other people have hypothesized that the slab thing was the initial, event that started all of it. These guys, I guess GM, General Motors, back in the 70s, did a bunch of experiments with cadavers in like car wrecks to see what kind of injuries happen.
Real cadavers.
Yeah.
Very
which sounds like the most gruesome, terrible.
And super messy.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world? Okay, I'm glad
but they used that data to compare, to coordinate. Yes, these injuries are consistent with what you would see. I don't know how that works.
Okay.
Side note, if you ever want to donate your body to science because you think you're doing some magical thing and you're going to help cure some disease.
You might.
You're not. You're going to get strapped to a GM and smash into a wall. Or you're going to end up in the cadaver lab I worked in getting mutilated by students.
So that they can study you and learn about it.
Yeah. It's not glorious.
But it doesn't matter. You're still helping.
So they think that happened. The first two guys tried starting a fire. Tried climbing the tree to get dry wood. But there was just no amount of fire. It's going to combat minus 30 Celsius. So they die of hypothermia. The other three try to go back up, get supplies. They die on the way. The other four maybe are actually the four who are in the best shape of the 9. They take what they can from the dead ones, and they go to try to build the shelter to make it through the night. Total bad luck that they happen to build it on top of this stream that they have no idea is down below them. So as they are getting settled in, the whole thing collapses because the stream's under there. And the amount of snow is so tall, it's so heavy, that essentially it's like being crushed by a boulder. And they think that's where some of these chest fractures and...
But your eyes and your tongue,
well,
that's
then
so
it's
weird.
One of two things. One, you're going to decompose a little differently being right next to the water source. And two, the only way anyone can get around that at all is scavengers.
Or like they bit down on their tongue and bit their own tongue off when they...
Yeah.
If it landed on them.
So, again, is it a perfect explanation? Not at all. Is it a crazy story? 1,000,000,000%.
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And which way everyone else does an episode on it.
Yeah. I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, well, now you have.
Shocking.
Yeah. So,
Oh, gosh.
yeah, so I mean, that's the best theory anyone has.
Right.
But it's obviously, I mean, who knows?
So what's your theory? How about that? After listening to it, think about what your theory is and what you contemplate happening. And
So I'm definitely like, is it Occam's razor? Is that the simplest thing is usually the most correct thing?
I don't know.
I might be messing up that. I mess up a lot of things, especially at this time of the night. I assume it is a series of very normal, natural events that add up in a way that we just can't see.
Right.
I will take that over the possessed Yeti or demon possession or aliens or KGB or whatever else we talked about.
Right. All the options. Okay. Well,
but it still is just
weird.
so weird.
So
There's just a
weird.
lot of strange occurrences for one night.
Too many. Hopefully I can just go to bed and go to sleep. And
Well, this is why you just don't go winter camping.
that's it. Well, yeah.
And I've never had a successful winter camping trip. Never had one this bad, but never a good one.
So the life lesson is don't go winter camping.
Don't go winter camping. Eyeballs are greater than eyebrows. And Yeti's a punk.
Yetis don't exist.
Well, if they do exist, they're punks.
Okay. Perfect.
But they probably don't exist.
On that note,
we're going to call it a night. Again, if you've got a crazy or a rational hypothesis or explanation for what happened out there, let us know. Again, if you want to see the funny story of our first day of school, email us at strangest@gmail.com or go to our Facebook page, Strangest Species, and I will write something up and I will put it there. Life is insanely busy, so it might take me a day or two or a week or so on my own. But if you email me, I'll definitely do it faster. I think that's all I got. You got anything else, Ethne?
I don't.
All righty. Everyone have a wonderful week, and we will catch up with you again next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.